Imagine walking into a luxury car showroom and the first thing you hear is, "Sweetheart, you lost? This isn't a thrift store." Yeah, because God forbid a black woman in a faded dress even breathes near $1 million car. Hilarious, right? Peak comedy. And just when you think that's low, the salesman actually tugs at her dress for laughs, while his buddy piles on, sneering loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe she'll pay with food stamps. The whole place froze. But here's the kicker. The broke girl they were clowning? She wasn't broke at all. In fact, she owned the one thing they never saw coming. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Noon sunlight spills through the glass doors of Prestige Motors as she steps inside, every head turning. Her faded dress looks painfully out of place against the glossy sedans and million-dollar machines. And those salesmen? Oh, they're not letting up. The taller one, loving his audience, raises his pen like a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, behold the Welfare Queen Coupe." His voice slices the air, and the room bursts into cruel laughter. She clutches her handbag tighter, but it slips, scattering across the floor. A family photo slides right to his polished shoes. A smiling little girl, her sister, the only memory she carries. And what does he do? He crushes it, just presses his shoe down like her grief means nothing. She kneels, hands trembling as she picks it up, whispering her father's words. Never let them strip your dignity. Cornered, mocked, her jaw sets. And with that silence, the storm behind her eyes begins to break. The laughter didn't die down. It spread. Customers whispered, glancing at her like she was out of place in their perfect little showroom fantasy. And the salesman? Oh, they doubled down. One leaned close, brushing against her handbag with a sneer. "Go on, sweetheart. Show us those food stamps." What would you even do in that moment? Snap? Cry? Walk out? She did none of that. Instead, she straightened up slowly, like she was drawing power from the humiliation itself. Her eyes locked on the sleek black sedan at the center of the room, and every step she took toward it made the laughter sound thinner, weaker, and then silence. She set her bag down, reached inside, and pulled out a black leather folder. Not some purse scrap, not a bill, a folder. Silver letters gleamed on the cover. Brewster Holdings. The emblem every insider in that room recognized instantly. The smirk started to crack. A couple of customers exchanged confused looks. Even the shorter salesman, the one who thought he was the star comedian, went pale for half a second before forcing a grin. Cute trick. Fake papers don't buy cars. But she didn't even blink. Calm as ice, she flipped that folder open and inside were contracts. Legal, stamped, and sitting under her name. The laughter that had filled the showroom seconds ago? Gone. Choked off like someone had killed the lights. And just when the crowd thought maybe, just maybe, she was bluffing, her voice cut the silence clean. "I'm not here to buy a car. I'm here to review my own dealership." Wait. What? You could feel the room tilt. The salesman stiffened, their act crumbling fast. And the customers? They leaned in closer, sensing something explosive was about to drop. But the best part? She wasn't even finished yet. The room froze, but not for long. The general manager came rushing out like he'd just seen a ghost. His face was pale, his voice shaking. "Ms. Carter, I had no idea." Oh, now he wanted to play respectful. Where was that energy 5 minutes ago when his staff was clowning her in front of everyone? She didn't even look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on the two salesmen, the same ones who had laughed, tugged at her dress, and crushed her photo like trash. The taller one tried to recover, forced a weak chuckle. Okay, we were just joking around." Joking, really? You humiliate a black woman in front of a showroom full of strangers and call it a joke? Someone should have handed him a shovel, because he was just digging deeper. She didn't waste words. Instead, she pointed at the crumpled photo still bent on the floor, shoe print across the little girl's smile. Her voice cut clean. "Pick it up." And just like that, the power flipped. These men who moments ago strutted like kings of the showroom bent down in silence to retrieve the photo. Their swagger? Gone. Their audience? Dead quiet. All you could hear was the squeak of leather shoes on polished tile. Customers shifted uncomfortably, some whispering to each other. The irony wasn't lost. The same crowd that had been entertained by her humiliation was now witnessing two men stripped of every ounce of pride. And she didn't stop there. She smoothed her faded dress, squared her shoulders, and delivered the knockout line. You mocked the woman who signs your paychecks. As of today, you're finished. Both of you. Effective immediately. That's the moment the silence turned heavy. The laughter, the sneers, the casual cruelty, all of it collapsed into raw shame. And the whole room finally understood. This wasn't just a customer. This was their boss. The salesmen stood frozen, their faces drained of all color. A few customers shifted uneasily, suddenly embarrassed that they had laughed along just minutes earlier. Some stared at the floor, others pretended to check their phones. Anything to avoid meeting her eyes. And the general manager? He looked like he might collapse, fumbling for words, tripping over his own tongue in desperation. But Ms. Carter didn't need apologies. She didn't need excuses. She already had something more powerful. Dignity. Slowly, she bent down and picked up the crumpled photograph of her sister, still bearing the faint imprint of a shoe. Her fingers trembled as she brushed away the dirt, straightening the edges, as if restoring more than paper, as if restoring her pride itself. For a brief moment, the steel in her eyes softened. Grief flashed across her face, but right behind it was unshakable strength. Her father's voice echoed like a drumbeat. Never let them strip your dignity. And today, those words weren't just advice, they were prophecy. When she finally stood tall again, her chin lifted, she faced the room. Every customer, every salesman, every silent bystander. The general manager stepped forward, voice cracking. Ms. Carter, please. We had no idea. She turned her gaze on him, sharp and cutting. That's exactly the problem. You didn't care who I was. You saw a dress, you saw my skin, and you thought you knew my worth. Her words dropped like thunder, each one heavier than the last. The customers looked around at each other, guilty, ashamed. The salesman, who had strutted so proudly minutes earlier, now stared at their polished shoes like children caught in the act. She smoothed her faded dress, squared her shoulders, and delivered the final blow. You mocked the woman who signs your paychecks. As of today, you're finished. Both of you. Effective immediately. The room held its breath. The laughter, the cruelty, the casual racism, all of it collapsed into silence. And in that silence, everyone understood. This wasn't just a woman walking out of a showroom. This was a woman walking out with her dignity intact and justice served. As the doors swung open and the sunlight bathed her face, her father's words whispered again, "Never let them strip your dignity." Today, she hadn't just kept hers. She had stripped theirs. Before you go, drop a comment if you've ever watched arrogance collapse this hard, and don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow's story will hit even harder.